excuse. Puis c'est là, que vous voyez comment est-ce qu'on voit, c'est du beau hiver. We see a green buoy, and this fellow wants to know because he's here to hear a bit of his past or some of his history. And you can see where it's actually heeling a little bit towards the east. The tide is falling. La marée descend. Now maybe just to finish, finally answer your question, we have a 3.5 to 4 foot tide twice a day. So twice a day the water comes into the estuary, twice a day it leaves. If you look at the port side here, you can see the high water mark. You can actually see the tide surge during the full moon tide. En français, on a 3 pieds et demi à 4 pieds, ça c'est 2 fois par jour. Ça c'est la marée. La mer monte par l'est puis ça descend par l'ouest. 2 fois par jour, je change toutes les 6 heures. So they change every 6 hours, okay? Sir, and finally, I know you ask, 14 nautical miles is the head of the tide, westward, you got it? 14 miles that way is the tide. 14 000 de Quai Regis, c'est là où la marée finit. Puis 14 000 en descendant, c'est là où le vrai l'eau salée commence, l'entrée. About 14 nautical miles this way, sir, from Virginia, I believe. This is where the 14 miles is the Miramichi Inner Bay. All right? So let's just say, you want to have a seat there? Yeah, just have a seat, sweetheart. So let's just say that Ritchie's Wharf is the midpoint of the tide, not the midpoint of the river. To finally answer your question, 3 parts per thousand in salt content. It's brackish water, hence the color. Think about it, 14 nautical miles with all the filtration of the brooks and so on and so forth. That's the reason for the color. 14 000 en montant, c'est là où la marée finit. 14 000, c'est l'entrée. Après 14 000, c'est juste 3 parties de 1000 de l'eau salée à Newcastle. Mais dans l'entrée, c'est 33 à 35. C'est-à-dire que le plus qu'on descend, le plus sel qu'il y a dedans. Okay, so quite obviously that the further we go down, the further salt content there is, all right? Just look upriver, guys, the opposite direction we're going. And when we look upriver, Ganta Mountain, very first structure you see is the Morrissey Bridge. On November the 12th, 1914, it was John Morrissey that opened the bridge. Novembre 12, 1914, il y avait une grosse célébration parce que ça, c'était le premier pont qui traverse la rivière principale. Prends garde que je te dis, je te explique que ça, c'est sur la rivière principale maintenant. Okay? C'était John Morrissey qui a ouvert le pont. On November the 12th, 1940, there was a big celebration. Why? Because that was the very first crossing on the main river. I'm referring to this as the main tributary, the main river. Just continue looking upriver as far as you can see beyond the second bridge where these guys were stuck for 3.5 hours. We had to pipe them soup. No. Under the second bridge, that is where our 2 main tributaries started. If you look at my hands, guys, we're made up of primarily the main northwest, and we say northwest here. The main northwest starts under the second bridge of the river junction and goes towards the northwestern part of the province, with the headwaters being in the Bathurst area. The main southwest, that's the tributary you follow when you go to our capital city of Fredericton. But most importantly, where the main northwest and the main southwest enter into this main tributary, that's the name of the place 5 miles from here that we call Miramichi. So in case you're wondering, Miramichi is a Micmac name. The oldest Micmac name that we have in the east is Miramichi. En français, tout sur la deuxième pont, c'est là où les 2 grosses rivières commençant, c'est le nord-ouest principal puis le sud-ouest principal. Comme j'ai dit, ça commence toujours la deuxième pont, puis le nord-ouest ça finit par Bathurst, nord-ouest la Provence. Le sud-ouest, ça c'est la rivière qu'on suit quand on va à Fredericton. Mais plus important, les 2 entrent dans cette rivière, dans un endroit qu'on appelle Miramichi. C'est un nom autochtone, puisque les 2 rivières joignent dans cette rivière. Okay? So, northwest, southwest enter into this main river. 14 nautical miles eastward is the Miramichi Inner Bay. From the Inner Bay to the Outer Bay. From the Outer Bay to the Northumberland Strait. Then the St. Lawrence Seaway. Then the Atlantic Ocean. And we have on this river system 750 kilometers of one of the nicest rivers in the world. Wow. And it averages, finally, Miss Travers, it averages 30 to 35 feet in the channel. Sometimes we get 40. Okay? C'est-à-dire que le plafond, c'est quoi le plafond? C'est 35 à 40 pieds. OK? On a, comme j'ai dit, 14 000 en descendant, ça c'est l'entrée, le fruit d'eau salée. On a 750 kilomètres de rivière sur cette système. All right? 750 kilometers of river. Now, I had to say that very, very quickly because, guys, look at the port side here. Look at that gauche, you said. When I mentioned First Nations, by the way, Micmacs, they arrived here over 3,000 years ago, naming us after the river. The oldest name of a place is Miramichi in the east for a name of a place. I had to say that quickly because right here is sometimes called the corner of the river, le coin de la rivière. During the time of the fight with the French and the English, la déportation des Acadiens, la grande dérangement. We say in French, les Acadiens ont choisi le coin de la rivière pour leur sécurité. The Acadians took the corner of the river for their safety and security. Here's what they did. In 1755, a famous leader by the name of le Marquis Charles de Champ de Boisibert, qui arrive ici en 1755, durant la guerre contre les Anglais et les Français, during the wartime. In 1757 is where he put his battery, right there. See, là, il mis ses fusils dans le coin de la rivière. Why? Because he can see upriver about 5 nautical miles and downriver 5. But the deepest part of the river, Miss Travis, is right there, 55 to 60 feet of water. On a 55 à 60 pieds d'eau de là, l'endroit le plus creux de la rivière. So during that wartime in 1757, he put his guns. In 1758, the famous English boat, the HMS Fame, it came up burning and destroying any homes here inside French Fort Cove, a beam of French Fort Cove at an area at that time called Acadia Point, now called Canada Point, and up at Wilson's Point in Beaubears Island, named after that famous leader, Ile de Boisibert.